guys, Andy here. So about a year ago I reviewed the LG G3 and I've just rewatched that video to remind myself really what I thought of the G3, mainly because I'm really quite impressed with the G4 and I was thinking to myself, was I that impressed by the G3? Is this something new? Do I not really give LG enough credit? You know, I think we can all agree, well actually some won't, but Samsung makes some really top quality devices. I'm becoming quite a Motorola fan. And do I just not give enough credit to LG? And actually the review for the G3, the hardware was pretty good. The features that they put in themselves are actually really very good. But it was a little bit laggy, there was lots of jitter and the button placement issue and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it was one of them type of reviews. But as I say, I mean, I've been really very impressed by the G4. So I suppose let's get on and I'll sort of explain why.
So we'll start with the design. It's actually very similar to the G3. This particular one has a carbon fibre back cover. In theory, it's actually the leather model of the device. But the back covers are quite easy to change. The contacts there, I wonder actually if the cover gave it wireless charging, but it doesn't. I think that's perhaps to do with NFC, but I'm not entirely sure. We can see while I've got the back off, if it'll focus, there's a micro SD card slot there that's empty, and then you can see my nano SIM is actually in a case because it takes a micro SIM, and my Nexus 6 takes a nano SIM, so I had to use an adapter. That's the word I was looking for. Not a huge else amount to see apart from that. The speaker there, the rear-facing speaker, the camera and flash. The camera being a 16 megapixel, pointing backwards, and a 8 megapixel front-facing, with optical image stabilization. And is my camera focusing? There we go. And I lost my train of thought. And laser focusing, which I did find, you know, as you would expect, is very quick. The buttons, as mentioned, are on the back still. They do allow for, if I double tap down, it opens up the camera, and I think it goes ahead and takes a picture. I think double tap up opened quick note. So there are some sort of shortcuts there. Not quite as nice as Motorola's karate chop for. Oh, that was for the torch actually, not it was a twist for the camera. Anyway, so yeah, the buttons on the back. I mean, I do appreciate that it removes any buttons from either side of the device, because there have been times where I'll try and pick up a phone and, you know, you're actually, oh, I don't want to press the power button, and you don't have to worry about that with this. But what it does mean is, if you do have your device on a table and you're playing some music, and, oh, I want to turn the volume up, boom, you know, and that is a little bit awkward. Or even, not so much the power button, because it does have tap to sleep. And I think that's what's helped me deal with the buttons a bit better this time. I've been making better use of the tap to wake and tap to sleep. They are very handy. So I mentioned it's got the rear-facing speaker. They're quite often frowned upon by people. You know, you see on forums, oh, it's got a rear-facing speaker, how silly. And it's not the best idea, but actually this one is pretty loud. Let's give a quick demo.
Android. It's called, wait for it, Snapshots on Tap. Now, it works a lot like an Android Marshmallow feature called Google Now on Tap. And I think these guys have been drinking too much beer. Android users can replace the Google Now universal shortcut on Android to
That's a pretty good volume. It's not that different to my Nexus 6. Obviously, the Nexus 6 has great front-facing speakers, but I have been able to listen to that through boiling my kettle, which is not the case with a lot of devices. So I think that's most of the actual sort of design covered. It's quite a light device, but it feels pretty solid. So it doesn't, you know, it's reasonably light, but it doesn't feel cheap. So the actual hardware is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 chipset. It's actually got 6 cores, the CPU, from my understanding. So there's a quad-core 1.44 GHz Cortex A53, but then there's also a dual-core 1.82 GHz Cortex A57. And I guess they work between them to give the best battery life, which we'll come to shortly. It has the Adreno 418 GPU, and it has 3 GB of RAM. This particular version has got 32 GB of inbuilt storage. It did perform surprisingly well in my head-to-head, destroying the Nexus 6. I was quite impressed and quite surprised by how well it did in sort of all phases of my test. So you might want to go and have a look at that video. The screen itself is an IPS LCD giving 538 pixels per inch, the same I think as last year's 2560 by 1440. It also has an IR blaster, so you can use it as a TV remote. Let's see if I can find it quickly. There it is. So I have that set up for the TV in my bedroom and the audio system in my bedroom. There we go. I can switch between them both, and they, that's very easy to set up. You tell it what type of TV, and then it says, right, press your power. Did it work? If you say no, it moves on to a different set. Press power again. Did it work? Yes. Boom. There you go. Job done. So very, very handy there. So let's move on to the camera I mentioned briefly. So 16 megapixel rear with optical image stabilization, laser focus. It's pretty impressive, I would say. So I don't know how well you're going to see this. That was quite quick with the shutter release. Oh, did I just take? Now I'll point this out here actually because it's come up. It seems to. It doesn't. Even though I say use as default app. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I took that second picture. Even though I said use as default app, if I go in again, it's going to ask me. Yeah. So that is a little bit annoying. I'll have to try and find out why it's doing that, because that does annoy. Where did I get to? The front-facing camera is, I think, is quite impressive as well. I mean, you're not necessarily going to tell from this video. So it has some of the features that that G3 had that quite impressed me. So the flash, I can turn that off. So when you turn the flash on, you see what the photo is going to be, but you also get this brightness. And I think I saw. Okay, so you just zoom in and out. It also has, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it in the space that we have here. I don't know if you're not going to be able to see it. So it has the hand recognition or gesture recognition that the G3 had. So when you're taking a selfie, basically you hold up your palm, and you hold your palm, you see a box appear around it. You clench your fist, and it starts its 3-second timer and takes a picture. We're all into selfies, aren't we, these days? Or is it just me? I'm fairly sure it isn't. So actually, I think that's quite a handy feature. The colours do sometimes, I don't know if I'm going to have, maybe we can see it in this one. The colours do seem sometimes a little oversaturated. I mean, they are very strong colours. But they do produce, I think, some pretty amazing looking photos. The video seems good quality. It can be a little shaky. It is 4K capable, if that's something that floats your boat. And the video in low light, I would say, looks pretty good. One final thing worth mentioning. Where is it? Oh, there's a few different modes. Slow mode's interesting. Dual, both cameras at the same time. Manual mode, though. I think I tried to look at this in the unboxing. Hopefully you can see that there. So you get quite a lot of control over the settings in manual mode. There is also simple mode, where it basically takes everything away, and you just tap on the screen to take your picture. So I would say the camera and its software generally is a strong point of the device. The actual software running on the G4 is Lollipop 5.1 at this point. One thing I noticed was the auto adjustment for the ambient lighting detected is quite strong. So when it's in a dark room, it really cranks down. Cranks down? Is that a word? Really lowers the brightness. Quite often you put a phone on its lowest brightness in a dark room. When you turn it on, it still sort of illuminates the room. I was really quite impressed how low this gets. So actually, the time I noticed it most when I'm navigating home in the dark. When you get to your destination, it flips back to maps. And normally that kind of almost surprised me. I get this bright light shining out of my phone. But you don't notice that on the G4 because it does such a good job of being dim, I suppose. Having said that, the screen brightness, I found I have to keep it reasonably high because it's not perhaps as sort of bright as some of the devices that I've used. You also notice the notification toggles are pretty big, and that's when you swipe down. Even when I haven't got any notifications obviously at the moment, but when you swipe down, they appear sort of automatically, and then you have to swipe back up again to have just the notifications. So if you have like several notifications, I don't know if you've seen, they kind of stack up in a block at the bottom. You can't see them, so you have to slide back up to there, and then you'll see all your notifications as normal. Can tap on them. So to me, that's the wrong way around. Android did it the right way, where you get the sort of first bit with all your notifications, then you swipe again to get the rest of it. The toggles, they are quite good though. And, I mean, you saw the quick remote one already, and they're quite easy to edit. The last one is the edit button. You tick in and out the ones that you want. You slide them about to wherever you want. You know, simple but effective. So quite like that. We get dual window mode. Did I leave it as one of my quick things? Let's do it in fact then. So let's put in, if I can see it anywhere. Oh, I was sure dual windowed mode was. Oh, maybe they. Okay, my bad. I do apologise, but it's definitely in here. He says dual window. So only certain apps are set up for dual window mode, but it basically means that we can have. So let's say we want our gallery up top, and then we'll have YouTube down below. You can change the size, and they both sort of operate independently. Well, they should. There we go. Honestly, I haven't used that. I've not needed to use that, but I guess for some people it might be quite handy. You know, it's there if you need it. One thing I was quite surprised and impressed by, when you connect to Bluetooth earphones and then you plug in regular earphones, it is the bottom, isn't it? Yep. It gives you the option, do you want sound through both devices? I don't think I've seen that in a phone before. So you could, in theory, you know, so let's say I'm on the plane going on my holiday and I want to show somebody a video, I can pass them the plugged in earphones and I can listen through my Bluetooth ones and we can listen to the same thing. I think that's quite handy, quite cool. Could be quite useful. They sync up quite well. I did try an ear of the Bluetooth and an ear of the plugged in, and they were pretty closely synced up. So that shouldn't be an issue. Right, we can edit the home buttons. I've got to think where to find it is the only thing. It's not there. Home touch buttons. So button combination. So basically, we can put in there things like dual window, Q slide, quick memo, notifications. So literally just drag and drop it, and there it is. Or you don't want it, take it back out. So as I remember moaning, or I saw in the video of the G3, me moaning, why have they not put menu as an option? Back, home, app switcher. A lot of devices have a menu. Why do you not give us the option to have a menu? Bit weird. Anyway, I think that's quite good though, that you do at least have those options. Smart cards are still here. You may remember them. Sonny's got. Do I get to them from here? I can't remember actually now. I get to them every now and then. It pops up saying BeyondPod is using power while the screen is off, which obviously it is. It's playing me music while the screen is off. I guess that was actually quite handy because if something was burning up power, you'd want to know about it. It tells you about, you know, you've met your step totals. Oh, we haven't actually gone into your step totals for the day. Smart bulletin. I don't even know what's. I'll be honest, I haven't massively used the smart bulletin very much, so I'm not going to be able to tell you a huge amount about it. In fact, let's not even worry too much. I'll just show you what it is. Look. Smart setting. Oh, the smart settings are quite handy. So after 5 days, it decides where you live. I tried to set it myself. It was quite awkward to be able to do that. So basically, Wi-Fi turns off when I go away from home, but Wi-Fi turns on when I come back home. Amazon Music opens when our earphones are plugged in. So there's all sorts of sort of things it does. There's me quick remote look and some smart tips at the bottom there. But yeah, honestly, I've not massively used that. What I have used, I don't know if it'll give me the. No, we'll have to go in and. So I did try using Nova Launcher. Where am I going? I want apps. Apps, and then reset default, and I want to clear home. I'm going to press home. I'm going to say Nova. OK. So Nova works just fine. Oh, I didn't show you. Can I? Will it, about this effect. Sorry. As I say, that's just one for a friend. So there we go. Back to Nova Launcher. Now, initially, the only way you could tap to sleep was to do it on the notification bar. Then I realised, actually, Nova Settings has got gesture control, and I can download an app called Screen Off that when it double tap on the screen, it turns the screen off. I even get a little vibration. So you do maintain that. I'll show you quickly what it's called. I think it's just simply called Screen Off. There it is. So if you want to do that yourself, just download that app. You get two. One is the settings, and one actually turns the screen off. So when you, in the gestures, say run this app, and have it run screen off, basically, when you double tap. So where did I get to? I've mentioned the default app. So the keyboard, that's right. So now, it's funny enough, it's only when I watched the previous review of the G3 that it reminded me that I've got to go in and look for certain things in the keyboard. Because it doesn't, by default, have the comma there. You get the settings button. But actually, if we go into settings, I think it was in here. I think it was in keyboard layout. There we go. And you can literally drag and drop. Oh, he says. There we go. So I've taken the comma out, and now it's an option to go back in. So I'm going to drop it back in and say, okay, what do you want it to be? Well, I want it to be a comma. So you could put question marks or all sorts of whatever. I've also got, in this case, so you can have a settings key. Well, it says, well, which one do you want? Oh, and I've got it on the wrong side. So you can have settings. What's that one? It's the copy clipboard. I'm going to go for the speaker, although I've got it in the wrong place. See if I can I just... Then there's two other quite clever things. There's one is sort of stolen from iOS. You can split the keyboard. Makes it a little bit easier. Well, maybe. The keys are quite small now. Easier. And then a final thing, which I think is quite clever, which again was on the G3 already, but if I hold down the space bar, I can then, so you can see I'm sort of scrolling back and forward. So I think that's pretty natty, it's pretty clever. Nice little addition to have. If you can remember, it's there. So then we move on to the battery. It's a 3000 milliamp hour battery, which in itself isn't anything super special. It's got fast charging. It says 60% in 30 minutes, which is quick charge 2.0. Optionally, you have wireless charging. I've double checked that. I thought maybe this different back might enable it. It doesn't, but you can buy a case, like a quick circle case with Qi charging enabled for about £13 on Amazon. If I remember, I'll pop a link down below. You get the battery percentage on the notification bar, but you have to turn that on in settings. I do quite like the battery usage options. Let me go and find them. So we tap battery usage, and we get sort of a nice little graph, and it tells us in time-wise on the bottom when it's been, you know, how long ago it was at what position. Excuse me, hiccups. It tells us roughly how long it thinks it's going to last. It tells us how long it's gone so far as well, sorry. And it tells us in the last 3 hours how much we've used. Now, I've been using it quite hardcore, doing this video and prepping and stuff. And actually, I'm not sure I've seen that much battery use at all, even when I've been navigating, perhaps. But this phone does an amazing job of lasting ridiculously long time. So one morning I woke up and I was in no particular hurry. I started my podcast. I was laying in bed. I dozed a bit. And about an hour later, I sort of came to, oh, right, I go and make breakfast. And I looked at the screen, and I think it was still on 100%. How's that even possible? Then another time I drove to work. It was charging on the way to work. I parked up and I started work. And sort of 3 hours later, I looked, and it was on 99%. You think, how does it do that? I mean, I'm not a heavy user by any means. My screen on time is normally about an hour to an hour and a half in a day. But easily I'm finishing a day with sort of 80% or so battery. It's really, really impressive. A big, strong selling point of the device in my eyes, just how efficient the device is. I don't know how they do it with such a big screen and everything. In my battery test that I do, which basically is playing a video twice, 37-minute long video, once with the brightness full up and once with it full down, it finished with 95%. That's 5% more than the Note 4, which was the previous best. Now, it could have been, thinking about it, it would depend a little bit how light the room is. If the room was quite dark, as I've said, this will really lower the brightness of the screen, and that will have saved the battery. So, I mean, it's not a massively scientific test that I do, but it just gives you a rough idea. I was really amazed with the 95% result. If we talk about hackability, there doesn't seem to be a lot available on XDA at this point. There's a custom root, there's a custom recovery. I don't think really there's much else. I can't see sort of custom ROMs, I can't see a Cyanogen mod. But that's perhaps not an issue, because actually I quite like a lot of the features that LG add.
So, in conclusion, as I said earlier on, I'm really impressed by this G4. There's some great additional features above and beyond Android. You know, you'd be quite happy to see in stock Android, like the sort of the selfie features, some of the alterations you made to the keyboard. My big issue with the G3 was that it was a little bit laggy, a little bit jittery, but they seem to have fixed that. I know benchmarkings aren't necessarily an accurate way, but the G3 lost to the Nexus 5, the G4 smashed the Nexus 6. My other issues were the button placement. I've kind of coped with it a bit better this time. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's slightly more pronounced buttons, or maybe I think I'm just making better use of the tap to wake and tap to sleep being quite a big addition. It's got a great camera. It's got a good speaker, maybe even a great speaker. It's a shame they went and put it on the back, but it's still got some good volume and it's actually got some reasonable quality to it. The design, I like the design. I like the design of the G3, and it's got an amazing battery. I don't know quite how they've done that. So, you know, I'm about to fly out to go on holiday in a couple of days' time, and I'm going to basically buy this device to take with me, mainly because of the camera and the battery. Those are two things that when you're on holiday, you spend a lot of time snapping photos, and that in itself, you want good quality photos, and secondly, it can rip through your battery sometimes. So this seemed like sort of the ideal holiday phone to take with me. So I'm going to go ahead and buy myself a G4. I'll keep the other devices. It's handy for me to be able to compare them for you guys. But so, you know, I think that possibly, whether I keep using it as a main device when I get home, possibly. That'll be interesting. I don't know the answer at the moment. But that perhaps tells you how highly I think of the G4 at the moment. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to take it on holiday and use it on holiday with me. I'd be interested to know your comments. Drop them down below. I'll reply whenever I can. There you go. The LG G4. Thank you to clove.co.uk for loaning me this device. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.